we'll just start with the greeting. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sahaj. So today we will be having a talk with, from Sindhu. She is our online retreat guide. And also, she has been a practitioner for quite a while now. And the sutta which she is taking is kind of interesting sutta. So it is interesting how she will kind of take it forward. And we kind of expect more people to kind of join and contribute to this format of sharing. So if somebody has certain suttas or certain topics one is really passionate about, like there was one of our trustees who had written about the basics of Buddhism, and he had just kind of researched and done that, and then we kind of put it as a blog post on our website. So in that same way, if somebody has a topic one is really passionate about and he has researched it, and or a sutta one really likes, because there is certain suttas which stand out for oneself, and they kind of speak to you and they kind of give you certain kind of understanding and change of perspective. So if somebody wants to share, then also please contact us, and we will have more and more a variety of people come and kind of give the talks, because as more people share their views, from more angles we see this thing, the more richer our experience and our understanding grows about the Dhamma. So I would request Sindhu to start the sutta.
Thank you, Bhante. And I have shared the link on the chat. Before starting the sutta reading, I would just like to give a short intro about the sutta. Like this sutta is in the Sutta Pitaka of Anguttara Nikaya 3.36, which is Devaduta Sutta. There is one more sutta in Majjhima Nikaya with MN130. It is also Devaduta Sutta. There it is more elaborated on the great hell and the dangers. There Buddha has given 5 divine messengers. In this sutta that we are taking up today, here we have 3 divine messengers. Okay, I'll start the reading. Bhikkhus, there are these 3 divine messengers. What 3? Here, okay, I'll change the phrases of bhikkhu to students. Maybe one day you would prefer that, right? Here, students, some engages in misconduct by body, speech, and mind. In consequence, with the breakup of the body after death, he is reborn in the plane of misery, in a bad destination, in the lower world, in hell. There, the wanderers of hell grab him by both arms and show him to King Yama, saying, "This person, your majesty, did not behave properly towards his mother and father. He did not behave properly towards ascetics and Brahmins, and he did not honor the elders of the family. May your majesty inflict due punishment on him." I'll pause as and when required. I'll continue. Then King Yama questions, interrogates, and cross-examines him about the first divine messenger. "Good man, didn't you see the first divine messenger that appeared among human beings?" And he replies, "No, Lord, I did not see him." Then King Yama says to him, "But good man, didn't you ever see among human beings a man or a woman, 80, 90, or 100 years of age, frail, bent like a roof bracket, crooked, wobbling as they go along, leaning on a stick, lying, youth gone, with broken teeth, with grey and scanty hair or bald, with wrinkled skin and blotched limbs. And the man replies, Yes, Lord, I have seen this. Then King Yama says to him, Good man, didn't it occur to you, an intelligent and mature person? I too am subject to old age. I am not exempt from old age. Let me now do good by body, speech, and mind. No, Lord, I could not. I was heedless. Then King Yama says, Through heedlessness, good man, you failed to do good by body, speech, or mind. Surely they will treat you in a way that fits your heedlessness. That bad karma of yours was not done by your mother or father, nor by your brother or sister, nor by your friends and companions, nor by your relatives and family members, nor by the deities, nor by ascetics and Brahmins. Rather, you were the one who did that bad karma, and you yourself will have to experience its results. I'll pause over here. Here we can see the person who has, with the breakup of the body, he was reborn in hell and he was brought in front of the King Yama. And he's now interrogating with the person who has been born in hell. Now, King Yama asks, Didn't you see? I have sent a divine messenger. Did you see? Then he says, No, I did not see. And King Yama explains, Who is that first divine messenger? He says, there are human beings, men and women, who are aged, old age, sick, with broken teeth, gray hair, or completely bald, who are bent. When you see them, didn't you realize that even your body is also subjected to that same aging? Then he says, No, I was heedless back then. I did not realize. Since you did not realize and you did not do good by body, speech, and mind, then he has done a bad karma. According to his bad karma, now he will be treated in that way, in that hell. Now the King Yama asked him another question regarding a second divine messenger. We'll go through that. When King Yama has questioned, interrogated, and cross-examined him about the first divine messenger, he again questions, interrogates, and cross-examines him about the second divine messenger. Good man, did not you see the second divine messenger that appeared among human beings? And he replied, No, Lord, I did not see him. Then King Yama says to him, But good man, didn't you ever see among human beings a man or a woman, sick, afflicted, gravely ill, lying in his own urine and excrement, having to be lifted up by someone and put down by others? And he replies, Yes, Lord, I have seen this. Then King Yama says to him, Good man, didn't it occur to you, an intelligent and mature person? I too am subject to illness. I am not exempt from illness. Let me now do good by body, speech, and mind. No, Lord, I could not. I was heedless. Then King Yama says, Through heedlessness, good man, you failed to do good by body, speech, or mind. Surely they will treat you in a way that fits your heedlessness. That bad karma of yours was not done by your mother or father, nor by your brother or sister, nor by your friends and companions, nor by your relatives and family members, nor by the deities, nor by ascetics and Brahmins. Rather, you were the one who did that bad karma, and you yourself will have to experience its result. Here we can see the second divine messenger that the King Yama was talking is about the ill people or sick people that we see around. Even we get sick sometimes, and this is the nature of our existence. And these three divine messengers, one more we'll go through soon. These three divine messengers, we recently, Rajiv Dinesh sir has also given a talk in that 5 recollections. These are the first 3 recollections that we do. This is the second recollections that we are doing. when we see that someone is sick, we see that even our body is also going to have that same sickness, same illness in some or other time. So seeing that, we need to do good activities, like wholesome activities by body, speech, and mind, or we can like stop doing all the unwholesome activities. And that the person who has went into hell, he was heedless and he did not understand that he's also subjected to same illness. And so due to his heedlessness, whatever heedless activity he has done by body, speech, or mind, he will be treated in the same way according to his karma. And there is no share given to their mother or father, brother or sister, or anybody he has met in his life. Because he has done the action, he is the only person who is responsible, and he is the person who is going to experience its results. And the third part, when King Yama has questioned, interrogated, and cross-examined him about the second divine messenger, he again questions, interrogates, and cross-examines him about the third divine messenger. Good man, didn't you see the third divine messenger that appeared among human beings? And he replies, no, Lord, I did not see him. Then King Yama says to him, but good man, didn't you ever see among human beings a man or a woman, 1, 2, or 3 days dead, the 5 drops corpus bloated, livid, and festering? And he replied, yes, Lord, I have seen this. Then King Yama says to him, good man, didn't it occur to you, an intelligent and mature person, I too am subjected to death. I am not exempt from the death. Let me now do good by body, speech, and mind. No, Lord, I could not. I was heedless. Then King Yama says, through heedlessness, good man, you failed to do good by body, speech, or mind. Surely they will treat you in a way that fits your heedlessness. That bad karma of yours was not done by your mother or father, nor by your brother or sister, nor by your friends and companions, nor by your relatives and family members, nor by the deities, nor by ascetics and Brahmins. Rather, you were the one who did that bad karma, and you yourself will have to experience its results. When bhikkhus, King Yama has questioned, interrogated, and cross-examined him about the third divine messenger, he falls silent. Okay, I'll pause over here. Now King Yama is talking to him regarding the third divine messenger. The third divine messenger is the person we see like dead people who is dead for 2 or 3 days, the body gets bloated up and all the ants come in. And when we see that divine messenger who is dead, we need to know that even our body is also subjected to the same thing. But the person who has came now into the hell in front of the King Yama, he was heedless and he did not understand that his body is going to be the same. So he did not perform any good actions by body, speech, or mind. So now he is going to get whatever karma he has done. He is going to experience that. Now, after questioning all these things, now the King Yama, he falls silent, and King Yama will do whatever the messengers of whatever Yamaluka are there, they come and grab him and take him to the punishment section. According to his karma, he will be get punished over there. Here it's kind of simple narrative about the hell realms. So I'll just go through it. I think there's like no need of explaining all these things, but still I will read it. It's quite self-explanatory. Then the wonders of hell torture him with the 5-fold transfixing. They drive a red-hot iron stake through one hand and another red-hot iron stake through the other hand. They drive a red-hot iron stake through one foot and another red-hot iron stake through the other foot. They drive a red-hot iron stake to the middle of his chest. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings. Yet he does not die, so long as that bad karma is not extinguished. Next, the wanderers of hell throw him down and bury him with axe. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings. Yet he does not die, so long as that bad karma is not extinguished. Next, the wanderers of the hell turn him upside down and bear him with adze. Next, the wanderers of the hell harness him to a chariot and drives him back and forth across ground that is burning, blazing, and glowing. Next, the wanderers of hell make him climb up and down a great mound of coals that are burning, blazing, and glowing. Next, the wanderers of the hell turn him upside down and plunge him into a red hot copper cauldron that is burning, blazing, and glowing. He is cooked there in a swirl of foam, and as he is being cooked there in a swirl of foam, he is swept now up, now down, and now across. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings, yet he does not die, so long as that bad karma is not extinguished. Next, the wanderers of the hell throw him into the great hell. Now, because as to that great hell, it has 4 corners and 4 doors, and is divided into separate compartments. It is surrounded by iron ramparts and shut in with an iron roof. Its floor as well is made of iron and heated till it glows with fire. The range is full 100 yojanas, which is ever covers pervasively. Okay, I'll pause over here. Here we can know that what is the danger of hell, how the hell is going to be if we do not perform any good actions by body, speech, and mind, and we did not see any divine messengers and we were heedless. Then the danger in that, how the hell is going to be, it's clearly explained over here. And not only the hell, even the great hell, it's like 4 corners, a room we can imagine, 4 corners, 4 doors, and separate compartments, all iron and glowing with so red hot. And we can't even stand. And details regarding this great hell are also given in MN130. If I just go through that, it's creating like so much, even if a single moment, if somebody acts in unwholesome states, anything by body, speech, and mind, one cannot imagine like how dangerous it is to go into that hell. It's really difficult to stay over there even for a single minute. But here they are saying that person who has gone into that hell, he is so heedless and did not perform any good and did not respect their mother and father or anybody. So he's going to stay there until full 100 yojanas. For that long, until he dies and his karma is extinguished, he's going to stay there in that great hell. Now, seeing all this, now the King Yama says, once students, in the past, King Yama thought, those in the world who do evil deeds are punished with such diverse tortures. Oh, that I might attain to the human state, that a Tathagata, Arahant, perfectly enlightened one, might arise in the world, that I might attain upon that blessed one, that the blessed one might teach me the Dhamma, and that I might come to the understand this Dhamma. So even King Yama, even though King Yama is in Deva world, he comes to the hell realms and take care of all his duties and responsibilities. Even King Yama, like wanting to come into this world as a human being, and during the time where the Tathagata is born, and he's like so pleasing to hear to the Dhamma, and he wants to know the teachings. And here he says, because I am not repeating something that I heard from another ascetic or Brahmin, but rather I am speaking about a matter that I have actually known, seen, and understood myself. He like goes every day to Yamaloka or hell rings, and he knows how the thoughts are all, how the people are so heedless and how they are getting punished. And seeing that, he is saying how people are, these are like verses. I'll read. Though warned by the divine messengers, those people who remain heedless sorrow for a long time, having faith on to a lower realm. But those good people here, who when warned by the divine messengers, never become heedless in regard to the noble Dhamma, who having seen the peril in clinging as the origin of birth and death, are liberated by non-clinging in the extension of birth and death. Those happy ones have attained security. They have reached Nibbana in this very life. Having overcome all enmity and peril, they have transcended all suffering. Here we can see the first verse is saying about all the sutta that we have read. Though warned by the divine messengers, those people who remain heedless sorrow for a long time, having strayed to a lower realm. The people who do not see the divine messengers or the our actual characteristics of existence, like the body is impermanent, we're going to get illness, we're going to age, and we're going to die. Those people who are not who do not act knowing all these three things, they act heedlessly, and for a long time they sorrow, and though they go to the lower realms in hell realms. And those people who see these three things, the divine messengers, and when they know that there is a danger if they do not act mindfully, and if they act heedlessly, they know the danger in it. They know the Dhamma, the true nature of the Dhamma, that there is impermanence in this world. They know that all this world, who is acting heedfully, when they come to know this, they are freed from this circle of samsara, birth and death. And here, even he is talking about the Arhan people. Those people once have attained security, that is the Nibbana. They have reached Nibbana in this very life. Having overcome all enmity and peril, they have transcended all suffering. The sutta ends over here. I'll just give a short summary on this. We see all these three people even in our surroundings in everyday life. Even in our home, we get sick. Every day we are like aging. Every day our age increases. So we can see for ourselves how aging is happening, how illness, how impermanent is also our health. We don't know, in half an hour or 1 hour, we may get sick, or we may just fell down and broke our leg. So we can see all of this. Even the death, we see our mother and father, old age people, or poor our grandparents, elderly people, or even nowadays, even the sick, like just born babies also die. When we see them, they are like giving us the message, giving us the divine message that you are also subjected to the same thing. Whenever we see these three kind of people, or look at ourselves in the mirror also, we can know that we are also getting aged. It's like everybody has a message for everyone. We can learn so much from these three divine messengers. If we do not act mindfully and do good by body, speech, and mind, then the danger is now just, we have read it in the sutta, how dangerous it is if we do not act mindfully. And this body, speech, and mind, that it's repeated so many times in this sutta, it's the right thing that we are practicing now in our film practice. The body part that we have, like practicing generosity, dana part, even while meditation or whatever action we are doing, mindfulness, taking the practice to the life. There we are doing it like the body part of loving kindness, bodily acts of loving kindness. Speech, whatever way of speech we are speaking, there we are like imbuing loving kindness in our speech or letting someone help. Dana is also happening, and even through mindfulness, everything is happening slowly. Even in mind, when we are cultivating mindfulness of loving kindness, then we know that all these things, body, speech, and mind, are all imbued. If we cultivate the mind, the body and speech will come together, because everything starts at the mind. Because mind is where we pursue the good or the bad. So this, I think this body, speech, and mind. Even when I heard this for the first time, I thought generosity was like just giving something through money or something that we give. But it can be so much lot more than that. There can be like so much more to that. It's not like only giving or through money or something. We can do this bodily acts of generosity through loving kindness, through helping someone or so many people. And even through our meditation practice, we are also like radiating loving kindness while doing any other activities. And through verbal actions, earlier, like I used to not be like so much comfortable, but now if anything I'm speaking, I'll just try to connect it with Dhamma so that people will get benefited, even I and the other people will get benefited. And the mental acts of mindfulness, the practice we are doing, it's like so much connected to this sutta. I personally have read this sutta so many times previously as well. I thought this sutta is like the practical application that we can see in our daily lives, in our surroundings. When just going on the road, we can see there may be people who is walking on a stick, leaning over the stick, or there may be some dead body going over there. So whenever we see this, they are the divine messengers. They want to give a message. We can see the message from them. I think here I can conclude. Bante, or maybe Hugh, anybody wants to add something, or maybe some questions?
Do you want to contribute?
Hello, Sindhu. Thank you so much. This is a lovely sutta. I wonder if you could just say a little more, perhaps, because the sutta is couched in terms of the consequence of coming face to face with King Yama. But what about? Can you say something about the experience of people in their lives that they that this punishment perhaps is something they experience as part of their daily life as well, rather than something that comes afterwards?
The whatever actions they are doing, the wholesome actions, if they do, they will get the wholesome as the first two Dhammapada verses go. If they are like being mindful and doing good by body, speech, or mind, then that's fine. They'll be free from suffering. If not now, maybe in future. But here, the person who has come to the King Yama, he is acting heedlessly. So he did not see the danger in the his life. What the human being, there is so much of danger, there is so much of suffering. He did not see the divine messenger that the King Yama has been asking now. And he did not act good. So he, after waking up of this body, he is going to the hell. Because he did not perform any good actions. He's getting so much of torture, so much of punishment, or the hell, how the description of the hell is. It's like, if we do not perform anything good, we know that danger, heedlessness, how it's difficult, we can know.
Yes, thank you. I mean, one of the things that struck me when you were talking was how if we don't behave in this way, we become very guarded in our own lives, even, before death. We fear the loss of our possessions, or we become very protective, or because we behave in particular ways towards people, we become fearful of them behaving in similar ways towards us. And we have a much reduced life, and rather than an expansive approach. And I'm reminded of Sister Kima did a talk, maybe a couple of years ago, when she was talking about karma and ripening, vipaka, and how that process of we have this action that we do, and there's a process of ripening before the fruition of the karma. And this sort of, has this idea of the fruition of the karma comes, as a sort of in response to our life. But I think also we can get this fruition in our daily life. We can experience this, and so we can if you like, put ourselves in a hell realm in our daily life experience. Depending on how our relationship is to things that are happening in our reaction, rather than responding from a balanced place. So when you went through all those descriptions of this sort of hell realm, it kind of struck me that there are occasions when we feel this in our daily life as well.
True, I accept it. And there is one more sutta with the same name, Devaduta Sutta, that is MN130. They have added 2 more divine messengers. One is the child who is helpless, lying in his own urine and excrement. Even when we die, if we have the ability to get reborn as a human being, then we are also going to be the same space, how helpless we could be. And there is one more thing that just reminded me when you were saying, like, if there is a community, there is a king and there is all people over there. The king, what he does is, whoever does the unwholesome deeds, or if somebody steals something or somebody performs some unwholesome actions, the king punishes them. He cuts off their hand sometimes maybe nose or a ear, or sometimes maybe they get beheaded. So when we see that, even then we can know that those 2 divine messengers were also added.
And I think one of the things that comes across with the sutta as well, which is interesting, is that the divine messengers at one level inspire a certain amount of fear in us, fear and dread. But also that there's another side to that, which is that we discover, as we develop, if you like, the loving kindness and a different response, that we have a release from this fear. I'm reminded of another sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, which I think is 11.1, which goes when we've got sila as the foundation, then we have freedom from remorse. So that freedom from remorse in itself brings a much more lightness into our lives. So we can be, the messengers tell us about the fear. They're the messengers of warning, if you like. But then if they inspire us to follow sila and generosity, then we get something different. We get this freedom from remorse, and that brings joy, and then that brings rapture, and then and that's an unfolding in itself. So I think we've got two messages here, which is, the fearful one, because pay attention, and then there's we don't have to. It's not like a sort of Calvinist Christian perspective, which is to be constantly in fear, but it's actually there's a whole positive side as well. That as soon as we take notice of this, we expand into something else. So I think this sutta is a great choice, because it's inviting us to reconnect to that. Yeah. So thank you.
And this body, speech, and mind, this is completely connected to body and speech, the precepts part, and the mind is Shila, and then Samadhi part to the mind. And once we do body and speech and mind, like Shila and Samadhi, then the Panya, the wisdom, will be developed. If the path is like cultivated properly with proper guidance and with the right effort, then it's the complete eightfold path that we can do. Anybody has any comment or any question? May, would you like to add something?
Thank you, Sindhu, for your time and for offering the Dhamma talk today. It's very much appreciated. And it's very nice to hear this sutta. I think it complements, like you said, a couple of weeks ago, Rajiv Ji's reading. Which is it's a good reminder for us in our daily practice, even if we don't see or come into contact with these messengers in our daily life as much as we can, if we can reflect on them. I think the messenger of being ill is probably the easiest, because I think all of us at any age, I don't know about other people. I say for myself, especially, not only COVID, but there's so many kind of viruses nowadays. So there's all different types of variants of flu and cold, especially when the seasons change. So actually, for me, the second messenger in terms of getting sick is easier to reflect.
Good. That's nice. There is always something to add into our lives from these suttas, and sometimes it's just while driving or just when we reflect back, or something from the sutta that we have heard, it just reflects in our mind, just a small flash from that sutta part, just exactly intertwines with whatever situations we are facing, and solution is always been there over here. That's nice.
Anybody has questions also, please. Yes.
Hello, Bante.
Yes, hello.
Today I was listening to Mahabodhi Society Dhamma talk, Mahabodhi Society Bangalore Dhamma talk. In that, Bante has given one example, which is very helpful. There is one closed airtight room. In closed airtight room, let us say if there is even small hole, the air can pass through it. Similarly, the Dhamma is such a way that Buddha has taught the Dhamma. The Dhamma is such that even the little air, little of Dhamma, can make the person to change, to walk on the path of Dhamma, and can practice deeply. This example was very practical, for normal people, one can understand. Even the little Dhamma, little moment of making happiness, listening to Dhamma, may change their lives.
One thing in the Dhammapada verses also, the Buddha says that even if you kind of read a little bit of Dhamma, but practice according to that, and by practicing that you can achieve the goals. But even if you read a lot of Dhamma, if you read and listen to a lot of Dhamma talks and read a lot, but you don't practice it, then it is not fruitful. It is like a cow herd who is looking at others' cows, and and it is no benefit to him. So the thing about the practice and the little Dhamma is there is also important, because even that can change the perspective and can flip the person. Like there is a story which has been given in Dhammapada itself about a monk who is not able to understand. His brother is in Arahant. Then the Buddha gives him just a piece of white cloth, and I am not remembering the exact words, but he says that this is pure, this is pure, this is pure. So the white cloth is very pure cloth, and he's just rubbing the cloth, saying this is pure, this is pure. And then after some time he sees that the cloth is dirty. Then he realized the dirt is inside him. He was seeking the solutions outside. He has to see and he has to give up from inside. And that same small kind of teaching leads him to kind of give up all craving and become an arahant. So even a small teaching of the Buddha can actually take you towards the path of Nibbana. So that's a very kind of a good example you have given. One other thing about is that certain times people think that, oh, these are obvious things. Seeing death, seeing kind of aging, seeing illness is kind of a common thing, but that is not the case. In the modern society, certain people want to kind of remove all those things from our life. Like in California, somebody told us when I was in Mahatma Nanu chat that they have this new concept about handling people who have passed away. They say they have a celebration of life. So what happens is, if a relative passes away, they give the contract to somebody to reach the place where the relative has passed away. Like he's in the house or he's in a old age home. They will go there, collect the relative. They will perform all the kind of last rites, like cremating the body, and then they will bring the ashes. So no relative will go there when the person has passed away, because they don't want to deal with the death. And then what will happen is, after the ashes have been brought to a place where there will be food will be there, there will be drinks will be there, and then they will not talk about the death. They talk about, oh, how joyful the life was, how joyful the life is. What are the blessings of life? That is a good point to be kind of, but you are totally removing the messenger of death from our life. We are totally removing the messenger of illness by not visiting the relative at the old age home. We are kind of removing the messenger of old age also by kind of putting them in a separate place, not keeping in our family, the old people. So by that, the modern society is also gearing towards kind of not looking at the divine messengers. And this kind of is a reminder, this sutta is a reminder that, see, these are important, because if you are not knowing, then how can you be heedful in the life? Yes.
Truly, Bante. Really inspiring it is. This modern society presently, many of them are not following the precepts, and because of that they are facing the actions. Thank you, Bante. Thanking you all.
Yes, you.
Bante, thank you for that. But I'd like to just pick up with a personal experience. You know, when my father died, I visited the hospital, and I requested to the nurses there, you know, would it be possible to wash the body? And they acted in certain amount of surprise. You know, and a special arrangement had to be made to allow this to happen, you know. So I was able to do that with my brother. And my father had only died a few hours before. So, you know, and that was a particular experience, and it was very good, and it was, and that. And then I went back the next day, and what really struck me was the next day, his body was completely cold. And that experience just, you know, I was so grateful, because it so reinforced that, you know, the body is nothing in that sense. It wants in that the attachment to form is so so misleading, and so there's a great privilege in working with death, because it's so informative for those who are alive. And yet so much of the time it's taken out of our living experience. And I don't think I could you know, in a different circumstance earlier in my working life, I had to deal with road traffic accidents and all this sort of thing, just as an incidental thing to what my normal work was. So I wasn't unfamiliar. But when you connect with this with something which is so close to your own personal existence, that's when the lessons become very real. It moves away from being an idea I understand to being a knowledge I feel. And so death is a great privilege. And we're losing this connection by this sanitizing, or what is believed to be a sanitizing. Whereas I felt the experience that I had was a sanitizing. And so I think this sort of is another reason why this sort of is a very good choice, to remind us that these things are available. But now these days we have to make the effort to make them available, rather than just being a natural part of our living experience. And that's sad, because it means then for the vast majority of people that's not the case. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share there.
Just I want to add that to it. It is a similar topic. I was inspired with Ajantun monk of Thailand. He says that today this day may be the last day for me. Therefore, we need to perform good deeds. And when Ajantun has become a monk, he was remembering that today there may be last day. In Dhamma talk, he told that, but till date.
You're muted.
Sorry. Ajantun monk in Dhamma talk, he told that when he has become monk, he has daily, he was thinking that this may be the last day. Therefore, we need to perform good deeds. Till date, the last date has not come. He told in Dhamma talk, and many of them have laughed it, because we don't know when death is uncertain. Today may be the last day. Therefore, we need to perform good deeds, and we need to follow the precepts, he says. Thanking you.
Venerable, can I ask a question?
Yes, please ask.
So I'm thinking always examining whether for us as let's say meditator or part-time meditator, full-time meditator, whatever, is it enough if we follow the precept and meditate, or do we have to also do something like for the good of others, or like how to say, this kind of philanthropic deeds, helping other maybe sick people or something? What do you think about that?
You want me to answer, or Sindhu can say, then I'll put my thoughts also.
Yes, anyone, it's okay.
I'll add my thoughts also. Let Sindhu.
Okay, I think as a practitioner, as a lay people, basically, we keep our precepts, we are meditating, and it's not like only restricted to practice of Shila and meditation of Samadhi. Whatever actions we do, like even at our home, we stay at home, doing all our activities, we can do get all this Dhamma into our life. Like every moment, every activity that we are performing, there is always Dhamma that is present in that activity. It's in our mind, then it's always in our action. It's not like we especially need to do this or that for us to bring that path into this path. It's like intertwined. We can know, be that part of it anytime. It's our intention, if we want to be that part and make something wholesome happen, want to help someone, or just put some rice over out, like rice grains outside for the birds to get fed, or just take some rice and put outside for the dogs. Here in India, it's like easy. Maybe I don't know about the internationals, but even a small act of generosity. If I start my day at my home, like just put some rice outside for the squirrels. They come, they eat happily, and while offering, I just have that intention that may this merit be shared by all the beings. So it's like wholesome action, and we are sharing it with all the beings. Then whenever you start your day, like performing any good activity, wholesome activity of dana or anything, even if you start, like whenever you wake up, you smile and just radiate for a moment all the beings, like 6 directions and all the directions with loving kindness, then your mind gets uplifted. Even for a fraction of a second, if you just smile and just wish, in having an intention to wish that all the beings be happy. It's not like only we do it only while we are sitting. It's like all time practice, one day would say that. And that's the best part of like Buddha's teaching. It's so practical, like, not restricted to just Sila or just sitting meditation. And this is just my view. One day, please add.
One thing I think is that I think from the Dana Shila Bhavana, what the Buddha is saying is the whole path is kind of incorporated in the Dana Shila Bhavana. That is doing good is Dana. Shila is avoiding bad. And Bhavana is to develop your mind. So when you are developing your mind, the basis of act is your Shila. And for having a mind which is able to be with Shila, then you have to have a generous mind. One mind where it is able to sacrifice. The sacrifice is that what you have, you share with others. So Bhante used to say that first you start with a smile. When you are speaking to somebody, you are interacting with somebody, just give away your smile. Smile and just give away your smile. That is what Bhante used to say. Second thing is the practice itself is of Brahma Viharas. That is when you are in, say, Metta or Karuna or Mudita or Upekha. You are just sharing that with all beings. So when you are doing this is a part of Dana itself. So that is the reason Bhante used to say that this is a Dana practice which you are doing. The practice itself is of dana, of giving. But Buddha said that even if you do it for a snap of a finger, a correct metta in the proper manner, then it is more beneficial than doing a yagna, a sacrifice, organizing a sacrifice. It has more merit in that. The other thing is by working with somebody, like dana is also like giving it to the sangha monetarily, or like feeding animals or feeding people. But it also is if you are working with some people, like going to a kind of a old age home, spending time with them, or going to a kind of a nursery or a kind of a orphanage and giving your time. That also has a big impact. Because when you are interacting with people, when you are kind of there physically, that impact is also there. So wherever possible, you use that as the fuel for having good actions. That is, you use the dana to enhance your shila, and you use the dana and shila to enhance your bhavana, that is your meditation. So everything has to be in balance, and everything kind of propels the next thing. So when you are doing generosity, it definitely helps your practice also. Do you want to add?
Yes, the only thing I would add here, picking up with what Sindhu and you've said, Bhante, is the way I also like to think of it is every time you siksar, this is an act of generosity, because it's taken your personal perspective out of whatever's going on. And the personal perspective, if you like, is the act of selfishness. So if we release away from that act of selfishness, that's again another act of generosity. So simply taking the twin practice into daily life is about bringing that generosity into daily life as well.
Yeah, thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you all.
Anybody wants to like share their experiences from this 1 week, or maybe their insight or any question?
Well, thank you, Sindhu. I would like to add something. It's related to dana, or well, something I noticed is, for example, I offered to help someone who dropped something on the street, and he was so very happy to have the offer to be helped. He declined, but he was so very happy with it that it actually joy arose in me. So actually, he ended up helping me instead. So I find that this can sometimes happen. That's very nice as well. So that's kind of unexpected, but it does happen.
Thank you for sharing. And when this happens, joy that have arisen, even that slight smile that you are giving to that person while you're offering, that uplifts their mind, even though they have this, whatever their things get just fell down on the road or some side. But at that point, when you smile, their mind gets uplifted. Like that's power. That's good. Thank you for sharing. And I'll just like that the time is getting up. So coming back to the Sutta of Divine Messengers, like I have a daughter who is like bedridden, but we call her the Divine Messenger. So I connect to this Sutta so well. She's like ill, so she's the Divine Messenger. She's teaching everybody the Dhamma without even uttering a word. And everybody in my family like takes her, accepts her as a divine messenger. So that kind of struck me. So I'll just start with this sutta.
Sadhu, sadhu. Very good kind of example from the daily life, that you see what is there around you and learn from that, and enhance your practice and your life, because practice definitely affects the life. And doing any action which is in line with the Dhamma will definitely kind of give you insight and wisdom. And that wisdom is only the one which kind of sets you free. That is your understanding of how this is working. So very beautifully put.
And one more thing, recently we just took her to the hospital and we just went to the ophthalmologist. And we knew whatever disease that she had, she's going to go through all this phase. We just know it theoretically, but when we see her that she's going through that phase, and just knowing was different, and that seeing, and at that time how our mind was reacting, like immediately there was like identity of a mother coming up, and maybe some sort of suffering and the eyes getting moist, but still that knowing is completely different and the seeing is different. Even in our Dhamma, whatever knowledge we acquire through the Dhamma talks, if we put that into the practice, then we develop our wisdom. I think this like intertwining, like life is meditation and the meditation is life. So beautiful. And yeah, so much thankful for Bhante Vimla-Ramji as well.
That is funny that you mentioned this. I just started on this book today. Actually, life is meditation, meditation is life. And there was one thing I was actually surprised because in the very beginning, Bhante Vimala-Ramji says that about your level of the practice, whatever path you have taken, whether and the path of the breath or the path of the metta and all of that. So I was surprised because since I've like entered on this twin meditation, I've only heard about the metta part, but I didn't know that actually we can also take the path of the breath. So Is it the case, or is that my misunderstanding?
See, Bante started with the breath, basically. His first book was on Anapanasati. And that is where he gave the name TWIM. Tranquil Wisdom Inside Meditation was the first book he wrote about his new method. And that was about Anapanasati. But in his experience of teaching, initially in Malaysia, he found that when he was teaching about breath, there were two things which were happening. One is that the old habits his students had accumulated through other practices were interfering. And it made them difficult to understand the 6R and to actually do the 6R. And the second thing was, it was taking a lot of time for them to kind of progress. He had learned about Brahma Viharas from, I think, Anagarika Muninder. And he had practiced Brahma Viharas. But then what he did was he adapted the Brahma Viharas to the TWIM. And then when he kind of presented that, he got a lot of response, and the development of the mind he saw was much faster. He said that there were two things which happened. One is that your old habit patterns were broken. And second, because people are feeling beings. Okay, so they can feel this metta and stay with the feeling of metta. And if it changes to, say, compassion, if it changes to kind of sympathetic joy, they are able to adapt and be with that. And because of that, what happens is your samatha develops better, and progress happens in a faster manner. So in that sense, his practice kind of helped him progress in his understanding about how it is accepted by his students. And that is the reason later on, there are many talks also in Indonesia. There's a talk, he kind of very clearly says that I don't give breath meditation now because I see that there is a lot of progress when it is done through the Brahma Vihara method. That is the reason. But at that point of writing the book, he still was giving instructions for Anapanasati. In fact, the first talk I heard about Bante on YouTube was also about Anapana. And that is the reason I switched from the Goenka system to Anapanasati. So I did that for 1.5 years, but I was not doing the complete 6R. I was just doing relax. And for 1.5 years, I did not progress. And I thought, okay, if I learn Brahma Vihara or Metta meditation, I'll learn it from him itself. Then I kind of resolved to go. So just to answer your question, yes, Anapanasati is one of the things he used to teach. But later on, through his experience, he kind of then said that it is very rare of a person not to kind of understand Brahma Viharas. So that is the reason. But in a rare case, if you want to try, then you can try and see how it is. It is as personal, but give it, say, 3 months or 6 months of your time. From this 6 months, I'll do this, and completely kind of dedicate yourself and see how your progress is there. If you do not find the progress to be significant, then you can switch back to Brahma Viharas. But 6 hours can be the same, the constant in both the practice.
The funny thing is that I've been practicing Anapana since I did my first Goenka retreat in April 2012. And since then, but exclusively Anapana I've been practicing since 2015 when I started with the PAOK method.
Correct.
So, but I think like it's quite hard for me to step aside from that meditation, especially when my Goenka practice was going so well. I found a lot of difficulty letting go of the Vipassana method when I entered on the like strictly jhana practice of the PAOK tradition.
Correct.
So, and also before that, I was doing all the yogic practices of pranayama. And when I entered the Goenka method, it was hard to stop controlling the breath. Now I'm finding another milestone or stepping stone is, you know, letting go of that breath, because whenever I cross my legs, now my mind naturally wants to go to the breath. It's almost like it's attached to the breath. So, and you know, it's hard to switch to that whole
Yeah,
new
so
method of the Brahma Vihara.
yeah, so that is the same thing I have also faced. So because I had been doing breathing, I think for 2 years before, I kind of 1.5 years I did it in the forest, but I was doing 6 months before that in my daily life or my lay life also. So it was the case for me, but I kind of found the one thing is that if your awareness of breath is in the background, and your object of meditation of metta is in the foreground, still it is okay. So just being aware of the breath is not a hindrance. Your attention has to be there on the feeling. And even if your awareness of the breath is there, that will slowly fade away and go into the background, and then it will slowly go away. But if you want to kind of totally be unaware of the breath, then it will be difficult proposition. Then you will be fighting with that attention, and you will try to suppress it, and then that creates its own cycle of problems. So just being aware would not be a problem. I think you also can add to this.
Only to say that when I first started working with Bhante Vimalamsi, I'd done 22 years of Mahasi practice, and separating my mind from that practice of the breath was almost impossible. And that's why Bhante moved me on to loving kindness, a practice that I was almost unfamiliar with, only in the most basic form. And it was only then that I was able to begin to progress, and by progress I meant become aware of the tension in my mind and in my body, because with the Mahasi approach, the tension was just endemic to the practice. It wasn't separate, and so when I became more familiar with the loving kindness, sometimes that would just simply be a smile. It wouldn't necessarily be a hugely noticeable sensation, but I could then allow myself to be aware of the smile, and the breath began to recede into the background. But I couldn't. My practice wasn't without awareness of the breath for really quite a few years. Now I'm not familiar with my breath at all, and that's fine. But the transition, one just need to be patient and recognize that it's the intention of your awareness which is the important thing, not the fact that one thing disappears and another is substitutes for it. And the clarity of intention, leaning your mind towards awareness of the loving kindness, that is sufficient for the practice to evolve.
So we don't need the breath at all at any stage. Let's say, as my knowledge before from I think the Vishuddhimagga and some other sources, that they are stating that the Brahma Vihara is like, for example, metta practice will only take you to the third jhana. Let's say kasina practice can only take you to the fourth jhana, but you cannot do like the higher arupa jhana. And every shamatha object was classified how far it will take you on the path. And I remember that the Anampana was the only one that could take you through all the 8 jhanas, the arupa and the rupa jhana. So that is just my question, because I think, because I come from a different background, so I have all that knowledge, so to speak. So what is your comment, Bhante, and you?
In the Sutta Majjhima Nikaya 43 we take, This is about question answers. In the last part of the sutta, they are talking about the different ways. Are they same in name and practice, or are they same in name and different in practice? So in one way, they are same in name and practice. And one way they are different in name and practice. So over there, it kind of clearly mentions the progress of Brahma Vihara. Metta is taking you to the fourth jhana. Then when you are in Mudita, Karuna, you are there in Arupa jhana of infinite space. When you are in Mudita, you are in infinite consciousness. When you are in equanimity, you are in nothingness. So this has been mentioned over there clearly in that sutta. And that is the progress which the Bhante also is kind of saying. And it corresponds. So it is very clear from the suttas that concept which is there from Vishuddhamagga or maybe another books, they are not in line with the suttas itself. And
what is the name of the number of that sutta?
Majjhima Nikaya 43.
43, okay.
Yeah. So you can go through that sutta, and you can go to the whole sutta. That is a very good sutta, 43 and 44. Both of the sutta, Dhammadina, the 44 one. So both of them are kind of very good suttas to kind of revisit back and just read and kind of see how our wisdom has developed to kind of understand that what is being spoken. So sometimes you will go through that sutta once again and say, oh, this is something I can understand now better than I was. So this sutta
every time I read the sutta is a different experience completely.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, you do like to add?
The only thing else I would add there is the fact that 6 R's being the expression of right effort. And right effort says that, you know, that we need to move away from the unwholesome and cultivate the wholesome. So if we're using the 6 R's to return to our breath, the breath is a neutral. It's not a wholesome state, it's a neutral state. But if we're using the 6 R's to come back to one of the Brahma Viharas, then this is coming back to a wholesome state and a blameless state. So using the Brahma Viharas as the process or the reference point that we're coming back to, the way I think of it or image in my mind is coming back to a slightly elevated more state compared to the breath, which is if you like, a neutral awareness. There isn't anything about the breath which makes it a wholesome state. I don't know if
more or less neutral.
More or less neutral. I don't know if you would. I think this is something we talked about, Bhante, when we were together. The fact that coming back to the breath is a more neutral state compared to a Brahma Vihara. Please add your thoughts about those.
So one thing I can see that she has shared, May has shared this link about the sutta, MN43. So that is one thing you can listen to. But I would recommend for Sam, I think he is kind of had a lot of experience in meditation, and so reading the sutta I would recommend him more, because he will be able to understand. So reading more suttas also I would recommend to anybody who has been doing meditation. Then I would say that listening to suttas has their own benefit, but after a point when you are had sufficient experience of meditation, then reading suttas has a different feeling and a flavor to it. So read the sutta so that and listen to it also. So that is one thing. Other thing is I liked how the Hugh said about intention, and how kind of he expresses the intention about your intention has to be clear about your attention being there on the object of meditation. The other things which are there in your awareness does not necessarily hinder you unless your attention is directed towards it. So if your attention is directed towards this background of breath, that is the time it becomes a hindrance. Hindrance is what hinders you. So Bhante Vimalramsi's expression of hindrance was whatever hinders you is a hindrance. So if the awareness of breath is there in the background, but your attention and your intention is there on, say, metta, and this awareness being in the background is not a hindrance. It can still be there. And you have to be clear about your intention and attention. So just that kind of helps. And the 6R is kind of a very helpful kind of the framework through which we are kind of working. And that framework, if you are using in a kind of wise manner, then it will help you kind of be with the object of meditation and not get distracted by your awareness of breath. Awareness of breath in itself is not a hindrance.
Okay.
Because I have also gone through this phase, so I know. And I think you also has gone through this phase. Yeah.
Yeah, always switching meditation object is quite challenging. Actually, yeah, if it was like, where during the time of the Buddha, you're not supposed to switch meditation objects at all. You get the right meditation in Kammatthana, and then you stick to it until Nibbana. That's how it should be. But because we are in these times, yes, where we have a lot of confusion and a lot of misunderstanding, and somebody will teach the Anapanasati Sutta, and somebody will teach from the Visuddhimagga, and like the Buddha said, the end of the Dharma days is when every teacher will say, only my way is the right way. So we find that nowadays in many teachers, actually, they believe really that's only one way. But actually, if there was a Buddha, he would give you maybe a very bizarre Kammatthana, and then you'll become enlightened. Like something completely doesn't make any sense. I would be reading the suttas, and some of the Kammatthana Buddha gave just don't make any sense at all to the intellectual mind. Like, how did this guy become enlightened? Like, why? So, but yeah, I mean, the Buddha knows what we don't know. So, yeah, only if we had a Buddha now. Yes, I think Hugh wants to say something.
I was just going to add here, the thing about TWIM compared to other meditation approaches that I've been involved in is the definition of mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't mindfulness of the object in TWIM. In TWIM, it's mindfulness of movements of mind from one state to another. So and I think the thing to ask ourselves is always whether transitioning our understanding of mindfulness to that is in sympathy with where we are individually. That's for me that was the thing I didn't initially understand when I was first went with Bhante Vimalramsi. And that's the fundamental difference. Are we able to see, or are we in sympathy with the fact that the object itself does not have the information that we need? It's
just the awareness is more important.
Awareness of the changing mind states is more important than the.
So this is can we call this Dhammanusati, or this one? Is it Chittanusati or something like, what the four foundation of mindfulness where the Dhammanusati. If you're staying with the Dhammanusati, that is the highest level of the mindfulness.
If we look at the four states of mindfulness in the Satipatthana Sutta, the importance, we can read it in multiple ways, but when we think of it in terms of mind states or the movement between mind states, we realize that the invitation perhaps to be aware of the arm moving or the standing posture, if we look at it carefully, there's an invitation there to see the arising of mind states and the disappearance of mind states. And so the naming of different postures just is, for me, is an indication of we need to be aware of these changing mind states in everything that we do.
That will lead you, I think, directly to the understanding of anicca, and I think that will just kick wide open the door of anicca, dukkha, anatta. Is a very potent exercise.
Not only anicca, because anicca was a teaching that predated the Buddha, but what it does is it opens up the teaching of dependent origination, seeing causality. And that's what I think is if you like, the liberating teaching of the Buddha. Dukkha was taught, anicca was taught in certain forms, and anatta in certain forms was taught. But the three marks themselves, there's a sutta. Oh goodness, I'm not sure I can remember the reference, but there's a sutta which says you can see the three marks and not see dependent origination, but you can see dependent origination and you'll see the three marks. So the dependent origination is the key that unlocks the Buddha's teaching, and to see that conditionality, we need to be able to see the movement of mind from one state to another, into another, and to see the universality of that in everything that we do. So that for me was the important difference, because the Mahasi approach is very clear about using the breath as the object of attention, and the process of noting was to dissolve, if you like, any distraction from that primary aspect, and that suppresses the hindrances, and then the insights flow. But the hindrances you don't learn. Well, I personally, in my practice, did not learn anything about the hindrances. I didn't learn. So as soon as I came out from retreat, the hindrances just came back after a few weeks, and then I'm back into the same stuff again. Whereas this mind state to mind state teaching of Bhante Vimalaramsi just takes the practice into daily life, into every aspect and every corner of life. Sindhu, do you have something you'd like to add to that?
I think the practice of right effort that the Buddha has taught, that's the key ingredient that we are using in the twin practice. Even if we practice like anapanasati, not like a habitual tendency, we might start suppressing the hindrances. But even if there we do the right practice of right effort, let go of that hindrance, come back to the wholesome state, I think that would be the right effort put into the meditation. And even there, like the fruition, like the path may be attained.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
But I would say that if you want to try Anapanasati, then give yourself a time of 3 months or 6 months, and then stick to it and see how it works with the 6 hours and how it changes your meditation. Because if you are consistent, then that consistency kind of gives your mind time to adapt. So switching between practices can kind of confuse the mind, and it is like a neuroplasticity that Sister Kema used to talk a lot about. Neuroplasticity is based on doing certain things repeatedly to create new pathways, neural pathways. So in the same way, when you are taking up the practice, keep it for at least 6 months or say 3 months. And then see how it kind of changes. So you will have a clear understanding about how this has worked.
Yeah, I can. I've been, benefiting from that applying the 6R to my initial Anapana practice, and that alone is quite a potent, I think, combination, rather than just like pure dry Anapana, where like Sindhu said, you're suppressing your natural tendency is to try to suppress and like really just force the mind to focus on that one object. Even mind is like trying always to run away. But with the 6R, you're much more in a relaxed and expansive state. You're just letting go. You're training the mind, I think, with that neuroplasticity again and again without any tension, just to come back to the breath naturally without any force or suppression. I think that is quite helpful.
You had to leave. I think he has some commitments. So should we share merits, or is there any questions? More questions? We can share the merits. May suffering once be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We had a good sutta reading. I really appreciate giving time and effort. So thank you for Sindhu also, sir. Thank you.
Thank you all. Wishing all happiness.
Yes, same.